Join me on the 4th annual Homecoming and Pilgrimage to Sierra Leone on December 28, 2021 through January 9, 2022. We will be exploring this beautiful country, and eligible individuals will be receiving Sierra Leonean citizenship and passports. For more details, check out our website, sierraleonepilgrimage.com, or subscribe to our YouTube channel, Go Ham Lifestyle Vlogs, because we all need an Africa escape plan.
Yes, welcome back to the African Diaspora News channel. My name is Richard Sudan. Thank you very much for tuning in. Please like and subscribe and support the platform and spread the word. So some interesting news and developments regarding the situation in Haiti are coming to light, and the US's double dealing hypocrisy on human rights and international law is being laid bare. Now, of course, recently we saw the assassination of the Haitian President, and it is alleged that at least 2 United States citizens and also potentially a law enforcement informant were potentially implicated in the assassination of the Haitian President. Now, not only did the US fail to stop 2 of its own citizens potentially participating in the assassination attempt, now the US's hypocrisy over its treatment of those fleeing the destabilized situation in Haiti has been laid bare. Now, it's come to light that the United States Coast Guard has been, will be, and will continue to intercept Haitian migrants in United States waters with the Coast Guard and basically send them back to Haiti. Now, this really is a bipartisan issue because previous administrations, Republican and Democrat, have essentially fulfilled these policies over many decades, regardless of the potential situation of those fleeing perilous circumstances in different Caribbean nations and elsewhere. The United States has a policy of sending them back and even locking hundreds or thousands of them in Guantanamo Bay, and the incredibly malign and vindictive conditions that these people face in terms of the persecution, being pushed back to the countries they fled from and also being detained and imprisoned, have been well documented. Now, this story speaks volumes for me on a number of levels. First of all, Joe Biden made much of trying to distinguish himself from the Trump era and Trump's policies. A lot of people, especially Biden voters, really hailed Biden as some kind of libertarian, some kind of president that was somehow, in the face of all the evidence, going to take a different stance towards human rights and towards international law. Now, to be clear, there's been a couple of cases, a couple of challenges in the past to the US sending back migrants from the Caribbean and elsewhere in the United States legal system. Now, there's a couple of cases, or at least one case, where the Supreme Court ended up ruling in favor of whichever United States government was in power, and basically said that the US was within its power, within its legal jurisdiction, to turn away desperate people fleeing desperate conditions. But the problem here is that international law says something very different indeed. Now, according to international law, if you have a legitimate claim for some sort of asylum, some sort of political asylum, as would definitely be the case for those fleeing Haiti, actually, according to international law, it doesn't matter how you enter the United States. If you have a legitimate claim for asylum, in other words, you could come to the US by plane, you could come to the US by car, you could cross the border, you could come by sea, you could even bungee jump out of a helicopter. As long as your claim for asylum is legitimate, you should be able to fulfill the application for asylum. But the US is essentially going against international law and is doubling down on the policies of the Trump era, and not just the Trump era, because this horrendous policy of turning people back not even at the borders, at sea with the Coast Guard. In this instance, this policy goes actually right back to the Reagan era, and it basically makes a complete mockery of any semblance of human rights and treating these people who are fleeing their countries with dignity and as human beings, and regarding them with humanity. Now, for an administration which is trying to claim it's very different to the Trump era, for a country which claims to believe in human rights, this reality regarding the treatment of the Haitian migrants and others from elsewhere in the Caribbean really flies in the face of that. And it says something that during the very period when UN rights inspectors are going to be in the US, compiling a report about the very real, very serious, very well documented anti-black racism, the US has the temerity to double down on these Trump policies. Now, another piece of double-edged hypocrisy really is that the Homeland Security Secretary, Alejandro Mayorkas, is actually the child of Cuban immigrants, people that have fled Cuba in the past and come to the United States. But it seems for the US, and in particular for the Security Secretary and certainly President Biden, it's okay for US citizens to potentially be involved in the destabilization and unrest of Haiti. It's okay for this to happen, but they're quite happy to slam the door shut at the borders. And of course, this even goes way beyond borders. You're talking about the Coast Guard potentially catching people at sea. If the Coast Guard, assuming, stays within US waters, a lot of people think the Coast Guard may even breach US waters and carry out these policies in international waters, which opens up a whole another bunch of questions. So, the US is on the one hand saying it's investigating its own potential role in terms of its own citizens being implicated in the destabilization and the infringement of Haitian sovereignty, while on the other hand, literally slamming the door on these people. And you're not going to know whether these people have a legitimate claim to enter the country or not if you're just turning them away at sea. Again, to be clear, under international law, which is something the United States says it adheres to, it doesn't matter how you enter the country. If your claim is legitimate for asylum, it is legitimate, regardless of the circumstances that led you to the country. Now, for a lot of people, especially those that understand the history of Haiti, the Haitian Revolution, this is almost another form of soft neo-colonialism. Haiti is a country which has always been punished, always been undermined, ever since Haiti had the audacity, as Western powers view it, to kick out the colonialists, to kick out the European enslavers, and to form the first black republic outside of Africa off the back of the only successful slave rebellion in recorded human history. Now, of course, Joe Biden, even by his words, could, if he wanted to, make a profound difference alone, irrespective of policy. If Joe Biden said the right words, if Joe Biden conducted the right messaging to the rest of the world, that would in turn have a very different impact on the sort of climate that we're talking about and the hostility in which these human beings are being treated. But personally, I don't really expect anything different from Joe Biden regarding these policies. Regardless of what his words are, I don't expect Joe Biden to change his stance. He's literally doubling down. He's doubling down on the policies of the Trump era. And now he faces a migrant crisis, if you like, from both the situation in Cuba and in Haiti. And you literally had Kamala Harris just a few weeks ago in Guatemala telling people not to come, not to make the perilous journey from South America. And of course, the South American continent, which is the home of many Afro communities all across the continent. This continent has been ravaged by the United States and her allies policies over the decades. And again, irrespective of the very legitimate claims a lot of these people will have to come to the United States and seek sanctuary, the United States, just like Europe, just like the UK, is slamming the door shut on these human beings and the problems which it's created. Now, regarding Haiti, there's a video I saw recently and I hadn't seen it before, and it's actually of Joe Biden a couple of decades ago speaking about Haiti. Now, a lot of people will say, well, this video's being taken out of context regarding his hostile words about Haiti. But when you see the video, it's hard to really imagine the words having any other context than the context in which you hear these words. I want you to see this for yourselves. Take a look at this.
If Haiti, a god-awful thing to say, if Haiti just quietly sunk into the Caribbean or rose up 300 feet, it wouldn't matter a whole lot in terms of our interest.
So there you can see it from the horse's mouth. It's very clear, really. It's very clear the manner in which Joe Biden views Haiti and the Haitian people. This is a horrendous policy, and a lot of analysts, a lot of people really say that this whole stance regarding, the hostile stance on black migrants from the Caribbean and elsewhere, South America, the hostile stance is really a sort of direct piece of messaging to many among white America who have border concerns and who just have a fear really of anyone who isn't of white European descent. So a lot of people are calling really for this policy to be lifted, but it won't be lifted. Joe Biden's administration is literally doubling down on this. And now you've got the Coast Guard literally turning people away at sea, policing the borders in the sea. And a lot of these people will actually be sent back. And actually, there's another piece of international law which is being disregarded, where a lot of these migrants fleeing places like Haiti will actually end up being locked up in places like Guantanamo Bay, which is ironically in Cuba. And a lot of these people will actually be sent back to situations where, for whatever reason, they may face a very serious threat to their life, a very serious threat of death. So the United States talks a great game on the international stage regarding international human rights, but the proof is in the pudding, as they say. The reality is that the United States, just like the United Kingdom, just like these countries in Europe who say they revere Christian values or values of other religions or whatever the values might be, but on a plain level, these people that are fleeing situations often created by the US, war, famine, poverty, political persecution, lack of economic opportunity, you name it. A lot of these people leaving these situations are leaving situations created by Western countries like the United States, and these countries which created the problems, which benefited economically from the problems, are literally slamming the door shut on these people and sending a very form of direct messaging to the racists in their countries. Like, these kinds of hostile racist immigration policies are like red meat to the braying jackals of racism. That's the reality of it. And of course, we got the other reality of all sorts of NGOs, all sorts of companies, individuals based in the US, just extracting the life, the resources from Haiti, abusing the people there over many, many decades. The Clinton Foundation is one organization which is allegedly knee-deep in exploiting the resources and people of Haiti and the goodwill that other people around the world might have towards Haiti for the benefit of their own pockets. But the Clinton Foundation is not the only one. There's many, many others. So I just wanted to bring that story to you today. We'll keep you updated about the situation in Haiti as things continue to unfold. Right now, I want to thank you for tuning in. This is the African Diaspora News channel. My name is Richard Sudan, and we will see you next time.
I'm Don with the Law Office of Don R. Dennis Jr. My office helps businesses that are involved in complex business deals. The issue is this: when you sign an agreement, are there adequate protections to help you in the event things don't go as planned? And do you comprehensively understand all the terms in the agreement? As an engineer, experienced attorney, and certified privacy professional, I've seen all types of agreements. My office's motto is engage diligence, because I believe clients have the right to a responsive attorney that has the same energy for them from the beginning until the end. If you're looking for an attorney that's going to fight for you and not with you on your matter, contact my office at 213-455-0880.
Thank you for watching. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and download the African Diaspora News Channel app, now available on Google Play and the Apple App Store.